credentials say I'm a financial advisor. Where am I going? Can you not hear me?
Yep.
Now, she's shaking her head no. Now I can hear me? Okay. My credentials say I'm a financial advisor. What the heck does that mean? Well, the financial services world, in the financial services world, a financial advisor is somebody, we think of it as somebody who takes our money and invests it and hopefully makes us more money, right? Right. Now, I can do that, but helping somebody make a lot of money with their money would mean absolutely nothing if your dog broke through the back fence and bit a child, or if the bad car accident happened. I always put the onus on me. If I leave here today and look down at the phone on the way and hit somebody and kill them, my financial world would be turned upside down. And the first thing you think of when I tell you that is, well, what's the likelihood of that happening? That's not going to happen. Well, E.R. Monroe is a survey company that does all these crazy surveys. And he reports, or that company reports that, I don't think that's working because I'm going to walk over here. The last study they did reported that 10% of the people in this room have 100% chance of getting sued this year for some kind of a civil suit like that. And everybody in this room has a 1/3 chance of being sued in your lifetime. So 1 out of 3 of them. All right? So if all the financial advisor is going to do for you is look at your assets and say, let's go put them in the stock market, or let's go put them in a mutual fund, and then we're going to get on our knees and pray, because that's about all we can do. Stock market goes up and stock market goes down. But if the catastrophic event happens and we're not ready, there's assets in the state of Florida that can be taken from us. Now, I'm in the financial services world because I got mad, irritated, frustrated, because 14 years ago, I had this little pot of money. I had an interior design business for 17 years. I had worked for Mobil Oil prior to that. I accumulated a little bit of money. And I was single at the time. And so I thought, I've got to find somebody to help me with my money. So I went across the street to my neighbor, who looked like he was pretty successful and knew what he was doing. I said, who do you use to help you with your money? And he said, well, I use that person over there. And I said, okay. So I went off to that person over there. And all they said to me was, and I'll make this short because it happened 5 times, is he said, it was, all of them happened to be men, because my financial services world is primarily men. I'm not normal. I have body parts they don't have. Okay? But basically they said, you have money in stocks and mutual funds. You have too much money in stock. We need to move to mutual funds. That was their piece of advice. And I said, okay, is that all you got? Well, yeah, okay. And I didn't do anything. I just said, let me think about it. And I went to my other friend down the other end of the street and said, who do you use? Well, that happened 5 times. Because I'm not one of these people that just takes the first thing you say to me. I just kept looking and looking, and it just didn't in my heart feel right. And I knew also that God wanted me to manage what He'd given me properly. And I didn't know how. Because, you know what? There's no class in school. Nobody teaches us this stuff. Or at least they didn't me. Maybe y'all have all had a class. And if you have, raise your hand, I want to go sit down. Because there was no class in school for me. So I went to the 5 planners. All 5 of them said, you're a little too heavy in blue chip stocks, which is what my daddy had taught me to do. So I had a little bit of ExxonMobil, I had a little bit of Microsoft, I had a little bit of Apple. I didn't have a whole lot of money, I just had a few little stocks. Went to the 6th guy, and he said to me, I want you to bring me your car insurance. And I went, car insurance? And he goes, do you do car insurance? He goes, no. I said, okay, I'll bring you my car insurance. So I brought him the car insurance, and he looked at my car insurance and he said, based on your car insurance coverage, now I had USAA, talk about military retirees and stuff. I had USAA car insurance. It's great, absolutely phenomenal. Those people are awesome in the car insurance department and the homeowners department. They're awesome. However, they didn't know that I owned a piece of land in Virginia that my mom and dad had left me because they were both deceased by this time. They didn't know how I owned it. It was in my name, my personal name. And in the state of Florida, there are only 4 things that are lawsuit protected. Your home in Florida, your primary residence only, all right? Your IRAs, 401ks, what we call qualified money in my business, all right? Annuities are lawsuit protected, and cash value of whole life insurance. I was a single woman, I didn't have any life insurance. I didn't even know what an annuity was, because I was too young to have one. I was young then. So I said, well, he said, what else do you have? And I said, well, I've got this little stock account over here. And he said, gone. I said, wait, what do you mean gone? He said, well, if you kill, and the way I describe it is, if I kill, put it on me. If I get in the car today and I'm going home, and I veered across the center line, and I kill the average age person working in our county, in Okaloosa County, at the average income, the average age person, and there's a note sheet in front of you. So we couldn't use the screen today, for my fault. It's my fault, but we couldn't use the screen today. So write this down for me. The average age person in the county is 35, working person is 35 years of age. Okay? And he makes $60,000 a year. That's average person. Okay? Now, if I kill that person through the court system, the family has the right to sue me for what's called his human life value. And the court calculates that by taking his 35-year age, subtracting it from 65, so 30 years, he would work to 65, times $60,000, $1.8 million. I looked at the advisor across the table, and I said, no big deal, don't have it. Let's move on to something else. And he said, well, let's talk about that. And then we started looking at everything, and he told me those 4 things that were lawsuit protected. And I said, he said, what else do you have? I said, well, I've got the stock account. He said, gone. I got mad. Well, then he asked me what else I had, and I said, well, Mom and Daddy lived on Mama's family farm and worked very hard to buy out 6 siblings so they could then go raise pigs. That's where I grew up, okay? But when they passed away, my sister and I divided the farm. So I got about 170 acres and she got about 170 acres. Now this is in the middle of nowhere. It's really not worth that much, but it's got some timber on it and it can, you know. So let's say $2,000 an acre. Okay? So my 170 acres times 2 is $350,000 of land that I'm never going to sell because if I do, Mama's going to come get me. Okay? So it's an asset, but, you know. But what he told me was if I had that bad car accident, that $1.8 million judgment against me, land's gone. I've been through 5 planners. You want to talk about mad? I was mad. But that's what my financial services industry has taught us. Give us your money, let us hold on to your money, we'll make you a rate of return, and when you're ready for your money, we'll give it back to you. If a major calamity comes rushing in, oh, we don't handle that piece of the puzzle. Well, you're a financial advisor, what the heck? Okay? So when I talk about my practice, I am a protection first practice. If you come to me as a client, the first thing we're going to look at is your car insurance. I don't do car insurance. I'm going to send you back to USA and get it right. I don't want to do it. I don't do your homeowners. But if it's not properly asset protected, if your systems are not in place, if you don't have wills, if you don't have the appropriate things you need to have, bad things can come in. Have you ever had anybody die near you, close to you? And I mean, not physically close to you, but someone you knew who died without a will? Have you ever been through that mess?
Yes.
Oh my word almighty. You got to have a will. It's not a hard thing to get. Priscilla will help you with it. So perfect protection is only the beginning, though, of a perfect plan. Now, I describe that my clients, the average client in this country, the average human working in this country, spends more time planning their vacation this year than they do planning their financial future. And why is that? Because we don't know how. How do you plan for your finance? I write my bills out every month. Is that planning? People will ask me that, and I'll go, well, no, that's paying your bills. That's not planning. That's not, we don't have things. Those of you who are retired military in the room, God bless the fact that you served us, and oh, by the way, yes, most definitely, you get your pension for the rest of your lives. And you darn well should. But the rest of us don't have pensions. I don't have a pension that's going to come in my life at 65. I've been self-employed all these years. I better do some planning along the way to make sure that there's money set aside for me to be able to retire one day. Once protection is perfect, then I work with my clients in what I call, the other thing I work with my clients is what I call slippage. Slippage is my word. I came up with it. Definition of slippage is money slipping through the cracks in our financial life. Now, when I say the word budget, people hate that word. It has a very, very negative connotation. What I talk about is having a spending plan that you control. You want to be, this whole thing, unstoppable you, means that you're supposed to be unstoppable. Well, to be unstoppable, you have to have knowledge. You have to know where your money's going. All right? Let me give you my story. A young woman comes to me. She lives in Niceville. Her name is Julie. She's 43 years old. She has an 8-year-old daughter. She was referred to me. The first question I ask somebody when they sit down at the desk in front of me is, tell me why you're here and what I can do to help you. And she said, I want to buy a house. I said, okay, we can probably get that accomplished, and maybe in the next few months, maybe in the next few years, we'll get it done. That's not hard. And she said, I said, what's the one thing that's blocking you from being able to buy that house? And she said, I can't seem to save any money. I said, okay. Now, I now tell the story to all my clients because Julie allows me to tell the story, and I leave her last name out of it. But I said to her that day, I said, we talked about a lot of other things. We talked about our car insurance and a lot of other things. And at the end of the meeting, I said, Julie, I said, I want you to do something for me for 1 week. She said, what's that? She was very much like a sponge, just soaking in. And she said, what do you want me to do? And I said, I want you to write down everything you spend for 1 week. Not the, at that time she was renting, and not the rent, and not the car insurance, because you go look that up. I'm talking about what you spend. And I said, I don't want to see it. This is for you. I don't want to see it. So, but I want you to write it down for 1 week. At the end of the week, categorize it. Now, I was told to do this right out of college. I've done it 3 times in my life. All right? And each time I do it, I learn something different. So, at the end of the week, I asked her to categorize it by groceries, clothing, things for her daughter. Make up your own categories. I don't care. But then once you have a total, multiply times 52. Because you want to see what you spend in a year. And I said, call me. It was a Monday afternoon appointment. I said, let's set a time. Just call me next Monday. And we set our next meeting to meet. But I said, just call me next Monday and tell me what bubbled to the top. She said, okay, I can do that. So she goes out the door. She calls me the next Monday, and she was mad. And I thought she was mad at me, because it's all about me. This wasn't about me. I said, Julie, why are you mad? What's wrong? Do you know how much money I spend on iced tea every year? I said, no, Julie, tell me about it. She said, well, I leave my house in the morning. Now, I left a key piece of information out. I'm sorry. Standing in front of a group of people still makes me nervous. She come to me at 43. Her daughter was 8 years old. Her husband was the same age she was. And when they were both 38, he'd been killed in a tragic car accident. So she was a single mom trying to raise her baby by herself. And when I asked her, why do you want a house? And she said, because I want my daughter to have a room that she can paint the color she wants. I said, then let's go get you a house. Now, fast forward to the end of the meeting, asked her to go do the stuff. She calls me back at the end of the week, she's bad. Beginning of the next week, she's bad. I said, Julie, what do you mean? And she said, I dropped my daughter off at Blue Water Elementary. She lived in Niceville. Blue Water Elementary every morning. She went around to Sonic. She pulled through Sonic every morning and got a tall iced tea with a cup and a straw and went on to work. I said, Julie, how much does that cost? And she goes, $2.83. $2.83. She was mad. I said, Julie, that's nothing. Add it up, she says. Now, normally I would have the calculator where I could do it. $2.83 times 5 times 52, which is what I'd asked her to do. You have any idea how much that is? How much? $125? It's a little more than that. $735
Oh my God.
for iced tea. But now hold up, because the first thing I said to Julie was, wait a minute, Julie. Don't take the pleasure out of today. Don't you want your iced tea? I'm going to get it, she says. I said, what do you mean? I went to Winn-Dixie and bought tea bags. I know exactly how many tea bags it's going to take me to make my iced tea. And I said, you mean you know how much it's going to cost? She said, absolutely. I said, how much? $17. For how long? A whole year. Are you kidding me? $735 minus $17 means she has $717 left over, right? So she still got her iced tea. So her standard of living hasn't really changed, right? So I said to her, I said, Julie, what are you going to do with the $717? Thinking, what she'd said to me when she came to see me was, I want to buy a house. Thinking, down payment for the house, we're going to put an account, we're going to grow that account, we're going to get enough money for the down payment for the house. I said, Julie, what do you want to do with that money? This is where our minds get in the way of what the reality is. And she looked at me and she said, I'm taking my daughter to Disney. She said, I have never been able to take my daughter to Disney. So she was going to get the room for her daughter, but she had, in her mind, had redirected those dollars to give her daughter. She looked at me and she said, it's a memory. She said, my husband always talked about taking her to Disney. And he's not here, but by golly, I'm going to take her to Disney. And between now, I met with her in April. And around Christmas time, on her daughter's Christmas break, they took that, and she called me. She said, I got $735, and we're going to Disney for 3 days.
Wow.
And I said, you go, girl. And people had heard about it. Her family had, and given her money for Christmas for the rest of the trip. Now, that young lady, in about a 2-year period, bought a house. Right? So my point of telling that story is that we have control. We are unstoppable. We don't even know it.
Yes.
We don't know how unstoppable we are. But that young lady got in her own way and learned to take back that control. When I look at slippage, I've got about 2 minutes. When I look at slippage, I look at debt and how we pay for debt. There's good debt, there's bad debt. I look at income taxes. If you're going to do an investment, what's the effect of the income taxes on that investment? We talk about emergency money. How much should you have? You know, Dave Ramsey says have $1,000 in the bank. Is that enough for you? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. Okay. We look at mortgages. Should you have in Julie's case, we talked with her about a 10-year mortgage, a 15-year mortgage, or a 30-year mortgage. The pros and the cons of each. So you hear what I'm saying is we talk a lot about education in what I do. If you don't understand the answers to the real question, if you don't understand the answers to these questions, the government, the big banks, and the institutions, the financial institutions in our country are taking advantage of us. All right? Like Julie, the iced tea was taking advantage of her, so she took the control back. Giving knowledge, and the knowledge that I've gained over these 12 years, gives us the ability to take the control back. I wanted to give you a quote that's one of my favorite quotes that I always give to my clients at some point in the planning process, and that is, we did then what we knew how to do, and now that we know better, we do better. So in Julie's case, she learned, she did what she knew how to do. And now that she's learned, she's taken back that control and moved on to give her daughter one of her dreams. And her next dream is now to be able to help her daughter in college, when her 8-year-old is now ready to go to college. And we've got a plan in place to get that done as well. So one of the things that I loved about what Anna talked about was taking physical control of ourselves. And what I talk to my clients about, like a physician, in fact, I refer to physicians a lot, is I take your x-ray of your financial, where you are, and hold it up to the light and start looking at it and see where the cracks are. So I become the financial physician in that way.
Wow.
I wear the Fitbit because
Wow.
I want to know where I am. in that process. I love the Fitbit. If anybody wants to know about it, I'll tell you that. The other thing is, God doesn't want us to worry about money, does he? Has anybody in the room not worried about money in the last 30 days? There's no hands going up on that one. Because we all worry about money. But God doesn't want us to worry about money. If we have a plan in place and we really understand how that plan works, then we can move forward with that and not be so concerned. I love the part of Dodie's story where she talked about she came back after the deployment and she said she didn't like rumors, so she sat down with everybody and shared with them. Now, I don't know if you want to sit down and share your financial situation with somebody, but sometimes when you sit across the table from somebody you trust, now there becomes that ability to be able to share those things that are sacred. And what happened when she did that? Did all the people in her office go, well, we're turning our backs on her? We're done. No, they embraced her and pulled her in tighter and helped her. So I like to describe it as, I like the word coach because the football players, if they didn't have a coach, they'd just be willy-nilly trying to go down the field. All right? If we have a coach that's helping us coordinate all of those things. I told you, I don't do car insurance. Send you back to your car people. I don't do wills. I'll send you Priscilla or somebody like Priscilla. But all those people have to be coordinated for your best effort. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The only thing I'm going to close with, I gave you a pen. You may have that pen. It has a little splinter on the end. Isn't that cool? It has a little, you can use it on your phone. And it also has a pen in it.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool. There is I left you a notes page so you can take notes because I think that's important. Right behind that is a little seminar evaluation. I always like to know what you guys think because it helps me get better for the next time I get the opportunity to speak like this. And I really appreciate Thomasina and Jennifer asking me to join you guys today. And I'm going to close with one final belief that I firmly believe is I used to be a really, really good script writer, and I was a great director. And I tried to write the script for my life, and I tried to direct it. And then I finally came to understand that if I let him write the script,
Amen.
and I let him direct it, if somebody had told me 15 years ago, and you know, we're a pretty tight group here, so I can say this. If somebody had told me 15 years ago that I would be not doing interior design and I'd be doing financial planning, which is a completely other side of your head, all right? And if somebody had told me that I would be remarried after my husband left me for another woman 10 years older than me, and now I'm remarried to a great, great guy from Chicago, you know, I would say, go get some better stuff because what you're smoking is not very good. So what I like to say is, I'm going to let him write the script because he does it much better than I could. Thank you guys so much.